As soon as I saw like the reserved, I legitimately thought this was like at a fucking restaurant, but I was then again so high, so I couldn't even tell.
Like from like a different video or something? Or?
Yeah. I was like, oh shit, he's at the restaurant.
Have you scoped any of these like podcasts?
I'm not interviews? I haven't seen like a full episode yet, but I have scrolled through like the snippets that you have on there.
Okay. So you kind of know what you're getting yourself into a little bit? Okay, for sure. That's
how I always laugh at my, like, if I'm going to be a celebrity, like, I need to prepare for all questions. My friend's like, you're a fucking dumbass.
I'm stoked that you came on because, like, I've seen you, we definitely have some mutual friends. You know, like, Alexander McKee. I've seen you at Nick's SOE raves.
Shit, really?
Yeah, for sure. You know Sarah and Austin.
Yep.
I've bumped into you downtown a couple times. I know I was fucked up. I don't know what your vibe was or some shit, but I've definitely given you like high five. I was probably just like passing by you and stuff. Yeah,
dude. I always feel like an asshole because people always come up to me like that, and I never. For starters, I always feel bad because they're like, "Hey, remember me?" I'm like, "No, dude, I'm sorry."
And that's kind of a touchy thing to ask somebody like, hey, do you remember me? Because like you're definitely more easy to recognize, you know what I mean? Like you have the whole thing going on. But yeah, I really wanted to talk about sexuality.
Yeah,
if you're open to talking about that.
Like I said, anything.
Because I'm on
record. No, just kidding.
Because I definitely have a lot of like heterosexual people come on, and I feel like you're not heterosexual, correct?
I'm pansexual.
What's in pansexual is like pretty much everything.
In a way, it is, but I feel like me personally, how people always ask me, is like, what is it? I'm like, basically bisexual on steroids, and they're like, oh, okay. So like anybody, regardless of gender, sexual orientation, or if you want to put it in an easier way, I'm a whore. Done. And
that's good.
Like, all right, cool. We'll go with that then.
And what is, and I'm down to go like deep as fuck, but like what has your life been like that? Like is there a specific like age or timeline when you became pansexual? How was that for you growing up? Like,
yeah.
I don't pretty much like most of like pretty much it's like a fair amount of gay people I know, they all have had certain times in their life where they definitely have like struggles.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's fucked up because in my eyes, I think a society should accept anybody for who they are, you know, like we all came out of a fucking vagina.
Basically.
You know what I mean? But some people are like extremely fucked up and just like just bullies. You know what I mean?
So I guess with my story, and I don't really tell this a lot, so might as well put everything out there. I actually I had my first sexual experience when I was 7.
7?
7.
Shut up. 7.
And it wasn't necessarily like get fucked kind of situation. It was more like me and this other kid, we were just like interested in our body parts. And I don't know what came over us that we were kind of just like messing around with each other. Of course, our lovely mother caught us, or my mother caught us. And that's like the only snippet I remember when I was 7. Moving into my teens, that's when I started feeling like, okay, I like men, but I rejected myself because I lived with a family that was Catholic. So, dude, it was a mess because I figured, because they were by the book, and so they were. My cousin slowly started telling me like, hey, I think I like boys. And I was like, I think I do the same thing. And we were just going back and forth. And we were like, okay, well, clearly this isn't it, because our parents look at us as, hey, you need to marry a woman, you need to have kids, da-da-da-da-da. But we were just so confused. So we were rejecting ourselves through all of middle school. It wasn't until high school when I finally came out as bi, because I thought, I was like, well, I know I like men, but I'm forcing myself to like women. But then everyone looked at me like, no, we straight up know you're gay. Like, stop joking with us. Like, we know who you are. It wasn't until after high school when I finally came out as gay. Then I was like, I think I'm gay, period. But then I started meeting more people into the BDSM area. They introduced me to like women, like, well, have sex with a girl and see what happens. I was like, all right. So I did. And since then, at that point, then I came out as bi. I then started to really expand my horizons. So I had sex with someone who was trans. I've been in orgies, threesomes, foursomes, and then from there I was like, I actually am more attracted to the person itself. So then from there I was like, okay, I kind of want to do more because I don't feel like I'm just bi. I feel like I'm more than just that. So I looked it up, and then that's when I bumped into pansexuality, and I was like, oh shit, this is what I am. So ever since then, I came out as pansexual. So I literally came out 4 or 5 times, just because each time I just kept learning more about myself.
Damn. How was that for you? Like, because you said your parents were Catholic. Were they like about to fucking exile you out of the household?
They still do.
Oh, you're not friends with them anymore?
So I still talk to my family, just because living in a I guess Mexican Latin family, we all love each other as a family, but I still have a couple family members who till this day reject me, but only love me because I'm family. And I was like, there's no, like, it's either take me as a whole or don't take me at all. There's like nothing in between. So I still talk to some of the family. Most of my little ones is who I talk to. So all of my cousins, my nephew, is just because they understand who I am. As like on the adult portion of it, I'm just like, I think I'll pass, but I appreciate it. But I know I still have family that look at me and they're like, really, like, can't you like really think about it? Like, are you sure that it's still not a phase? I'm like, no, dude. Like, I know what I'm at, so no.
Isn't it kind of sad that people literally don't understand that some people like they're like, oh, get out of the phase. Yeah. But the thing is, like, it's not a phase, it's just you being you.
Yeah.
And it's just me being me. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's you can't like drag someone out of their livelihood.
Exactly.
And people expect that, and especially like Catholic people, they're like, this motherfucker.
Yeah, you know exactly.
I mean? But the thing is, you're not doing anything wrong.
I'm not.
You're not doing anything wrong.
And that's the thing that always trips me out, because my family that always like comes at me with this whole like by the book situation, I always have to remind them, like, look at it this way. Just be happy that, one, I'm succeeding in life. I'm doing good in life. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I'm not out there murdering people. I'm not like stealing. I'm not doing this. So I understand that you're so up in arms for the person I love or the person I sleep with or what I do with my life. So instead of you wasting your time on that, just be, thankful and happy that I'm doing this other shit and not, what who I like. But they just still don't get it until this day. They're like, we just want to know, like, we just want you to be happy. I'm like, well, I will be if you accept me for who I am, and then just leave it at that. But it's still been a struggle till this day.
Have your parents accepted you for who you are?
So my mom and dad are still iffy. I feel like they're trying, but I feel like they're more worried of like, because I have siblings. I have 2 brothers and a sister. But I feel like because I'm this, they think that I'm going to rub that off to my little ones. And then they're going to come out as like, oh, we're this and we're not that. Another thing is that they want grandkids. And I'm like, I'm going to give you fucking grandkids. Like, one way or another, but y'all need to like chill out for a bit. Like, I'll fucking go to a store and buy one and be like, here it is. But they're trying, but it's still been a struggle because they still ask me like, do you have a girlfriend yet? I'm like, fuck, here we go.
And that's kind of the basic principle of expectations. Like, they got each other pregnant, had you, and that's the thing. They expected you to be straight.
Yeah.
They expected you to literally like women, but you can never have expectations. Right. And that's such a big thing that so many parents don't understand, you know what I mean? And
right.
So, and not even like parents of past generations and more parents of this generations, like there's people that literally, if they have a child that's going to be gay, that's it. That right. they're done with it. They're not going to talk to that child again, and they're going to fucking hate that child. And that's fucked up, because that's a whole nother. If you're going to have a child, expect for it to be anything and any, you know what I mean? Everything.
Exactly.
It's a crazy world we live in.
And that's the hardest part, because like I've seen that happen with friends of mine to the point where I've actually not seen, but I've dealt with people or with some of my friends committing suicide because of that reason. because parents no longer accept them. They feel alone. They feel like nobody loves them anymore. And that's not the case. It's just that with so much rejection, you feel that way. And so then you're now stuck in a dark circle that there's no way of coming out of it. No matter how much support you're giving to that person, as long as they don't get the approval from that family member, then it's just a lost soul at that point. So no, I've seen it, and it fucking kills me because I've been in that position before. One thing that not many people know is that growing up, I tried committing suicide a good handful of times. I guess 3 of them were the major ones that I've done a while ago. One of them, I did it on Christmas, and that was me consuming rat poison.
Rat poison?
So
there's no way that tasted good.
So as soon as I took it, I took a little bit and realized like, no, I fucked up. So I immediately drove to the hospital before it started hitting my immune system. I got checked in and I told them, I was like, hey, I unfortunately consumed rat poison by accident. Because if I tell them I was like, I was trying to kill myself, then obviously that I was going to be put in a lockdown for 72. And I told them, I was like, I was just being stupid. I'm drunk. Clearly I wasn't. So they pumped it all out for me, and they're like, well, we're just going to keep you overnight to make sure you're okay. And since then I was like, okay, I can't do this anymore. Like, I need to find a reason to continue to live, because if I continue to tell myself like, just end it, then obviously I'm not going to go anywhere. And that's the only reason why till this day I have so much hope and everything that I do when it comes to not only helping myself, but helping those around me.
And was that like a long time ago, a couple years ago?
This was 4 years ago, I want to say, the last time I attempted.
And do you feel like you've came a long way and have grown from that point?
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, nice. Just because I had to like really sit down with myself and tell myself like, look, you have a reason why you're here. And obviously I didn't want to use religion at that point, but I was like, okay, you're here for a reason, go with it. And so ever since then, that's where I started to meet more people, be able to network with more people. And then I really dived into the LGBT community. And I was like, okay, so I'm not alone. I have other people that are suffering with me. So at that point, I then reached out to them and was like, hey, what can I do to help you, to help me, and then to help others? And then just by talking to them and hearing the stories, that gave me hope. I was like, well, if I can share my story, then I can then relate to others and then just grow from there as a whole. So I did a lot. And that's what, really helped me through all these years, just being able to talk to other people about it.
What was that? So how did you even know to reach out to the LGBT?
It's a lot of fucking letters. That's how everyone's like the gay community. Just make it short and sweet. But yeah, it's LGBTQI+. I forgot there's an A in there. But there's just a lot.
Asexual, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's lesbian, bisexual, gay, transgender, intersexual, questioning, and then asexual, and then a little plus sign, because there's about 86 sexualities.
How many?
I could be wrong. I think there's 86.
86.
But it's broken down into details, and I feel like some of those are like grouped together, but then they're split because there's always like this small little detail that's different from the other. Because I literally I took one day and sat down and looked up all the sexualities. I'm like, motherfucker, there's too many. Like, I can't keep up with y'all. I love you, but what are you again? I'll try to remember. But no, it's a lot. I always try to like incorporate everyone, and I ask everyone like, what do you prefer? And if you like to answer, great. If not, then I'm not gonna try to offend you or anything like that. But the way I started small. So I started with going back to high school as a counselor, and asked them if I can help out with their GSA program, which is a Gay Straight Alliance program. So then I was like, if it's possible, I'd like to come back as a volunteer to be a counselor and be able to see these high schoolers and see what I can do. Just because during high school, I didn't have that support. So I'm like, well, let me start here. I did that for 4 years, and then I expanded out to other schools. I actually managed to reach out to Bakersfield, because they knew that what I was doing. I guess somebody saw me online doing this, and they reached out to me, and they're like, hey, can you come to our school and talk to our GSA? And I was like, yeah. So I did that, and then from there, I started expanding to other places. So like Gala down in San Luis. So it was just more of like starting small and then just kind of working myself up through every place.
And are you from SLO County?
No. So I was born in Mexico.
You were born in Mexico?
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's funny though, because a lot of people think I'm Indian. And I get that confused all the time. And I don't mind it. But it's funny. But I was born in Mexico. At the age of 5, I came to the States. Lived in LA, San Diego, Bakersfield, Bay Area for a little bit. And then I think at the age of like 13, I then came to Atascadero. And then I've been stuck here since then.
How old are you?
28.
Okay, nice. Yeah. Hell yeah. So you've been here
a good minute.
A good amount of time.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's one of those things that you get used to the area.
Yeah, hell yeah.
But I am a city guy, so I love traveling to my city. But then I realized, like, oh, fuck. I can see why I'm stuck here because I like coming back to a quiet place.
Yeah.
But don't get me wrong. You'll catch me in LA during the weekends being a whore or just partying it up or something. So...
It seems like you're pretty like popular. Like you seem like you're surrounded by people pretty much all the time. Not all the fucking time, but
right.
Like you seem like you have friends and you're doing shit outside in the community, you know? Like
I definitely try. And that's the thing is like in high school I was the complete opposite. I was that one kid that never talked to anybody, just kind of did my shit, put my head down and that was it. It wasn't until after high school where I started to slowly kind of do things. So I guess what helped is me going to the grad on Wednesdays for Wild Wednesdays, which was 18 and over. And then I would slowly go every weekend or every week on Wednesdays. And then when I finally before I was 18, I did the Wild Nights for minors. So minor nights on Sundays if there was no school on Mondays. When I turned 18, then I did the Wednesdays. And then from there, when I turned 21, I started doing like all the ones that were over 21. So I think that's the one that helped me a lot. But with that, I slowly started to just talk to people, networking immediately. And then that's why I started to create, I guess, the group that I have now. And since then, I'm slowly starting to create my name, put my name out there and like actually be known for a reason and not necessarily be a fucking Kardashian when they don't do shit and be famous for no fucking reason.
Is that what the Kardashians do?
Oh, 100%.
They have a hell of money, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's crazy.
Trust me, if I can pull what Kim did, just do a sex tape and release it and make money, I'm in. I think that's why they have OnlyFans.
Do you have OnlyFans?
I do, but I don't use it.
Okay.
People have told me, it's like, you should do OnlyFans. I'm like, bro, have you? No. I'm still pregnant. I'm not ready.
How do you even make money off of OnlyFans? Like...
I have a couple friends that have it, but you kind of have to like promote yourself in a way.
Got it.
So that's kind of the only way. And then if you're able to then generate the traffic, then obviously those can help you out to promote your content, and it just kind of like a domino effect at that point. But I've seen some that do make bank, and I'm like, damn, all right. But it's been in my mind.
Yeah.
To be able to do something like that.
What was it like for you, like telling your family, your friends, like, hey, I'm gay or I'm pansexual? What was that like? Like, do you remember that moment?
Yeah.
And how like hectic or crazy it was?
I feel like it was a point where they already knew.
Okay.
So it really wasn't necessarily a coming out story because when my cousin first came out to the family, and so at that point they were all, obviously Mexican family, they were all disappointed, asking themselves like, what did I do wrong? You know, what happened? What did I do? Da 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 da. So of course then I put myself in a position where I'm like, well, I don't want to tell them. Like I'm good. But eventually I kind of started to realize that I acted more feminine. So it was hard to act straight, if you will, where it was all like masculine, like, hey man, how's it going kind of situation. I was more like, hi, and they were like, oh, we know. So I eventually told my parents, I'm like, hey, I just want to let you guys know, I think I like men. And they're like, great, you too? I'm like, fuck, here we go.
That's funny. That's so fucking funny. It's crazy. It's honestly crazy.
It was definitely a scenario where I thought to myself, I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to be here anymore. And of course, I will never forget, until this day, I hold my grandma to this because she actually irritated me when she told me this. But she came up to me and she's like, hey, the reason you don't have a job is because you're gay. And I don't know why that alone, stuck to me for till this day. And I was like, great, so I'm never gonna be accepted anywhere, wherever I go. And so the funny thing is, like, a week later when she told me that, I immediately got hired at Target. That was my first job. And then from there I kind of just expanded. I became a manager at 18. And then I started getting all these job offers right after. And so I looked at her and I'm like, fuck you.
Yeah.
In your face.
And that's the crazy thing about family. There's some people that come like directly to mind. It's like there's people in their family, in their household, that are like, they should not even be talking to them anymore because they're so fucked up to them. And I've had like sit down conversations with some people, and I'm like, yo, dude, like, fuck that person, like, fuck your sister, dude, like, she's a bitch, like, fuck her, she did this right. too, like, all this shit. And then they're like, oh no, like, I have to keep talking to them, they're my family. And it's like, dude, like, that is true. I guess you are related by blood, but at the end of the day, you pick your friends. Yeah. Like that, I've always considered friends like closer than family. You know what I mean? Because like I pick my friends, and I know this person's fucking legit. Whereas family, it's just like, yeah, we know each other, and like technically we love each other or whatever. But like we're only doing that because we are family. You produced me. Right. You know what I mean? Like I'm related to you by blood. But like people get in these situations where it's like, their family's fucking bullies and jerks, you know, and it's like, why are you even talking to them? Like, separate that barrier and go, yo, like, just because they're family doesn't mean you need to, like, be kind back and, like, love them back, in my opinion. And I know that's, like, a very, like, so many people would be like, dude, that makes no sense.
Right? But no, I completely get it. And that's the thing is, like, you have the ability to choose your family. And that's what I did. Like, I still talk to my family because obviously I have respect to them, and growing up with them, they were obviously there for me, and they still are to an extent, but it's just like I can't talk to them in a way where I would talk to my friends. So if something was going on, I go to my friends like, hey, this is what's going on, here's what's going on, can you help me, I need advice. As if I was to go to my family, they'll just look at me like, okay, well then now what? And the problem is that some of my family will come up to me and then obviously try to put religion on me. It's like, well, maybe if you listen, I'm like, okay, clearly that's not what I was looking for, but I appreciate the thought. I'm just going to go over here. But it's crazy how, like, as you grow, you do have the ability to really choose your family, your second family. And that's exactly what I did. That's why I love the friends that I have now, because they can understand me. They support me. They're there for me. And, with anything that I need, I can easily reach out to them at any time and be like, hey, I need help. And they're right there. Compared to family, it's a hit or miss.
There's no way you're working like a normal like desk job or anything, no. Right? Like what are you doing for, like, how do you make income? How do you survive? How do you make money?
So I sell myself on the streets. I'm just kidding. So right now I actually... There's different, at first, so I was working for AT&T, or I guess for an authorized retailer called Prime Communications. They were my main income. I was at them for 8 years. Unfortunately, I had to quit because I landed myself in the hospital for 2 weeks because of the amount of pressure I was working there.
They made you quit?
I quit because of the fact that of just the working conditions. It was not... It was bad, just because I was working about 5 to 6 days a week, close to 60 hours a week. And even on my days off, I would always work as well. And I wasn't salary, I was hourly. So it was just like constant work left and right. And the thing that made me laugh the most is the company would always be like, I'm trying to be extra careful because if anyone from the company hears this, watch, lawsuit.
Are you serious?
I don't know. So I'm trying to like...
Don't name the company then.
Right.
Or you already did, right?
Huh?
Did you name the company?
No. Oh, yeah, I already did.
I'll bleep it out.
Plus, I don't... Trust me, I don't really care. They're poor. Even if they try to come after me, First Amendment. But look, just work conditions got really bad, and obviously I'm not going to explain to how like things work there, but I actually turns out that I had high blood pressure because of the amount of stress. So the way that I was able to find that out is that my right eye started to get blurry. So I was like, well, maybe I just need new glasses or new contacts. So I went there, failed the vision test, went to a retina specialist. They took photos of my retina and noticed little white dots. And they're like, hey, are you diabetic? And I was like, no, not that I know of. So then they were like, well, can we test your blood pressure? I'm like, yeah, that's fine. They did it twice and they were both very scared. So we're like, okay, at this point, we're going to need you to go to the emergency room. And I was like, it can't be that bad. They're like, we need you to go. We're like, all right. So I drove myself to Twins. I told them what happened, gave them the paperwork. And they're like, okay, well, let's test out your blood pressure. My blood pressure was sitting at 200. Yeah, 200. So at that point, the doctors and the nurses that were in there, they were like, not to scare you or anything, but how are you still alive? How did you not get a stroke? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I feel great. Like, I wake up, in the morning, drink my coffee, and then off I go to work. And they're like, how the fuck? Okay. So they put 3 IVs in my arms and then slowly started to pump medicine to lower my blood pressure. So of course my dumbass was like, cool, I get to go back to work, right? And they're like, no, dude, we're keeping you overnight. Like, you're to the point where you're gonna die. So I was like, all right. So I was in there for 2 weeks.
Wait, in the hospital?
Because of how bad it was. Yeah.
Did that cost you a fuck ton of money?
Yep. Which I'm still dealing with right now.
No.
So I guess because of the high blood pressure, I damaged both my kidneys. So both my kidneys are shot. I have to do a kidney transplant for one of them, and then I have to prepare myself for dialysis by the end of this year. So it's just been like one thing after another. So if it wasn't for my eye being blurry, I honestly, for being truthful, I probably would not be here today. Dang. That's how bad it got. So at that point, I was like, me being in the hospital for 2 weeks, I just told my boss, I'm like, I can't be here. Like, if I come back to these work conditions, I guarantee you back in the hospital again. And if we are talking about bills, my hospital bill is $172,000.
No fucking way.
Yeah.
How are you like?
I can't. I had to pull from savings and had to put at least 20 to 30 grand down just so I don't like hit collections. So right now, if we're financially talking, so right now I am struggling just because I had so much going on, and of course it just kind of threw me off guard. But it was funny though, because as soon as I came back to work 2 days after the hospital, the hospital called me and they're like, hey, we want to know if you can pay your bill. Do you want to do cash or card? I'm like, first of all, how much is it? And tells me the amount. And I'm like, no.
Dude, the amount they told you probably almost made you go back.
Right? I was like, y'all bitches are tripping. And then the lady was like, well, you can start it with 1,000. And I was like, let me call you back. And she's like, yeah, no worries. Never did. Until this day, they kept calling me and they're like, hey, we want to know if you can pay your bill. I was like, he died, and hung up.
Are you serious?
No, I didn't say that, but
okay.
I'd be laughing if I did. They're like, just send it to collections. But then eventually I had to like pull all the savings that I got, pay the amount. And then right now I'm just working for a dispensary called Colic Wellness, which they've been super chill since day one. Told them all the situations that have been going on, and they're like, dude, if you need anything, let us know. Like, we're here to help in any way. And they've been super chill about working with my schedule and trying to help me with that, because I do have monthly meetings with the doctors now. And that's just taking like so much of my time, and it's annoying.
There's no way in hell they needed $172,000 from you.
I saw the bill.
Stay. There's no way.
I asked them to itemize it because like I really want to know what I'm being charged for. So
it's just space, time,
basically. But because it was a mixture of that, the fucking rooms, the bed, and then at one point I had to transfer from one hospital to another because they had to do an MRI. for me. And so, of course, me going in an ambulance, there was another charge right there.
Do you know how much it was?
I think the ambulance was between 80 to 90 alone.
Grand?
Yeah. I wish it was dollars. I would have been excited.
To go from one hospital to the other.
Yeah, from Twin Cities to French.
That's fucking
so ridiculous. I will bring the fucking
sense.
bill.
That makes zero sense. That's honestly, oh my gosh, dude.
It was pretty bad. Oh God. And some of the equipment that they had, because I had to do 2 MRI tests. I had to do I had to do 3 kidney biopsies. Because the first one that they did, apparently they went too far into the tissue and it didn't work out. The second time around, my blood pressure like skyrocketed. So the doctor's like, I can't force the needle because if I do, you're going to bleed out. The third time around, what I had to do was I had to actually like put myself in a position where I was super tired. So by the time they did the kidney biopsy for the third time, I would just pass out on the table. And then they would do it for us.
That's fucking...
So yeah, I guess it's been a lot. And not many people know about this. Just because like I usually, with health and shit like that, I want to keep it personal.
Yeah.
But I did publicly post about it not too long ago because I actually went MIA on social media for about 3 to 4 months just because I needed a break. And with everything going on, I was like, okay, I really need to focus on this and not be on social media. So when I came back to social media, I just posted everything that was going on. And people were freaking out. They're like, dude, we haven't heard from you. What's going on? This and that. And finally, I was like, all right, well, here's what's going on. And posted everything.
Damn, dude, that's... So many issues arise right there for me. Like 2 weeks in the hospital, all the shit with your kidney. I feel like that bill alone should be no more than like 10 grand.
Right.
Like 2 weeks in the hospital, they're doing a fuck ton of shit with their kidneys, like cutting you open, putting you under. Like reasonably, that should be like a few thousand.
Right.
Like no more than like 10K or some shit. Like when you give somebody... And I'm assuming you're not rich, but I'm assuming, like, if you give somebody, like you or me, a bill and say you have to pay $72,000 fucking dollars, how are we ever going to get ahead?
Right.
Like, all we do, dude, rent, food to live, and the fucking hospital bill that's fucking you sideways. That's crazy. That's honestly insane. That makes zero sense.
Right.
Nothing could have cost that much.
Yeah.
Nothing could have cost that much. There's no way. A $90,000 fucking ambulance ride? That's berserk.
Like I said, it was pretty intense because when I got the letter, it wasn't like a thin little piece of letter. It was a fat envelope. And I was like, all right, here we go. I opened it up. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah, that's dumb.
So until this day, they're still trying to ask for payment. And I'm just like, bro, like, y'all need to chill for a bit. I'll pay you in 20 years. Just give me a couple years. And I like joked with them. I was like, hey, can I put this on layaway? The lady's like, the fuck is that? I'm like, never mind. It's trying to be all funny for a second. And she's like, no.
Yeah. What? So when did this happen to you?
November.
Oh shit. So
Recent.
This was like 7 months ago.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
This happened in November, and then
no.
Yeah.
And you're not done with the bills yet because you said you have to get ready for dialysis.
That's the problem, is that it's still piling up because right now I'm still dealing with that, but because of the kidney, I then sent all my information to Stanford, which the next step is to go to Stanford to start the kidney transplant. So I don't know how much it's going to go for. And then, of course, I have to prepare for dialysis for the end of this year if my kidneys don't do better. So when I first started with the doctor, my kidneys were sitting at 20%. And then every month since then, I am now down to 14% functioning. So the doctor's like, well, if it keeps decreasing, then obviously I have no choice but to put you in dialysis. The good thing is that the last 2 months when I visited the doctor, it was steady at 14%. So he's like, okay, well, something's working. So it's been helping out a lot. They put me on what is called a renal diet, so I cannot consume any sodium or potassium, and I can only have a little bit of sugar. I can only drink water or anything that has less sodium or potassium. And then, of course, have small 3 meals a day so I don't work the kidney. So, of course, the first couple of days into that new diet, you best believe I broke down.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, this is like a whole different ball game for me. So, of course, I had to like get used to it and whatnot. So it's been a struggle, and it's been a roller coaster ride since then. But
yeah. Or do you feel okay right now? Like, are you in pain?
That's the thing. I'm not. And even if I am, I feel like, okay, it's just a small little hiccup. Like, I'll be fine. And that's the thing. Like, I have to like remind myself. Like, I've seen people go through a lot worse. So me bitching about this, like, no, like you can do good. Like, just keep pushing and see what happens.
Have you paid any of the hospital bill yet?
Yeah, 25 to 30 grand so far.
But you're not even done.
No, not close.
Oh my
no.
God.
So that's only like the first half. So I know once I start the rest of the treatment, I know that's gonna come back to more. But right now, I am under Cobra, so I'm trying to see how much they can help me before, obviously, taking any more hospital visits.
What's Cobra?
Cobra is kind of like an extension of the previous insurance that I had with the company. So after I quit, I then had the ability to go under Cobra. And the good thing is, like I did mention, with the dispensary, the HR that they have there, she went out of her way and started like going after the company, like, hey, he needs Cobra. You guys never assigned him anything like this. And she was just going back and forth. So with her help, I was able to then extend my insurance and not pay a dime. So I think for the next 6 months to a year, I'm fully covered. So technically, I now have free insurance because of Cobra. And that's one thing that they kind of came out with during COVID. So I kind of got lucky in a way. So I'm just trying to see how this will be beneficial.
So did you just not have insurance when you went to the ER for 2 weeks?
I did, but it wasn't the greatest.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it could have even been more.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Dude, the thing is, Kim Kardashian makes that much money in a day.
Probably.
Like, she could pay your shit for you.
Right? Seriously.
Like that. She could pay your shit for you and not even break a sweat. Honestly. You should, dude, if you meld, like, you should send letters to, like, the president or, like, Kim or something.
Right.
I bet you, dude, if you told someone your story, you might get help.
Just pull a freaking white chicks. Dear America, I am a white woman.
Yeah. There's probably a lot of other people, though, with your same story, though.
Yeah.
Like, randomly had to go to the hospital, couldn't leave for 2 weeks, and now you're fucking screwed. Are you worried at all?
With?
Like, are you, like right now, if I knew I was in debt that much money, I would honestly maybe be thinking of, like, moving away somewhere far, far away.
That's the funny thing is that I do think about that every day, but I feel like just with me slowly moving forward here and there, obviously I'm going to hit obstacles, but I never like to think anything negative just because I know once I do, then I'm just stuck there. So I was like, okay, let's find a way where I can overcome this and then hit the next project. Obviously, I'm going to get tired doing so and stress myself out. But I know that if I slowly move through each topic, I can easily then be able to overcome every single obstacle. Because I know before, once I was like stuck, I'm like, fuck, I give up.
Yeah.
So I had to change the mentality. I was like, okay, keep pushing forward. And so I did.
What was the job you were doing that was that stressful?
I was a manager.
Okay.
And so being a manager, it was just a lot. And they were just asking for a lot. And it wasn't worth it at all.
Why were you stressed out from it?
Just because of the tasks I needed. So not only did I needed to be a manager, I also needed to sell. I needed to make sure that my store was up to par. My employees were hitting their goals for every possible thing that we had so they can get their commission. Escalations, if I had to deal with customer escalations, I had a bunch of meetings left and right. I had to do store visits in some rare cases, to do meetings in other locations. I then had to do obviously operations on top of that. So it was just like one thing after another. And it was to the point where you were done with one task and then 20 more tasks will come in. You were then hitting the next one, and then it just kept piling up, and it was just way too much. To make things more harder, they were trying to make sure that you were under 45 hours, trying to complete all of that. And I was like, there's no way I can do this in 45 hours. Like, this is ridiculous.
And you were with them for 8 years?
Yeah. Which people still today, they're like, how the fuck did you survive? Like, I didn't.
And then you said you quit that, never went back out there to the hospital. No. Were they like, yo, we want you back?
They at one point they did reach out, but when I first told them I was quitting, they're like, why? I'm like, bitches, look what just happened.
Yeah.
And after that I was like, I can't go back to this, and I was like, I'm good. They did reach out at one point, and I was like, nope, I'm good. Like, I appreciate the thought.
Are they a big enough company to have paid your medical bills or not?
No.
Okay.
No. If we're being truthful.
And then it sounds like you have a fun job now? Like a sicker job?
So with the dispensary, and it's funny though, because I went from tech to weed, and it's a whole different ball game. But no, they're super chill. I love them to death, and we're just a dysfunctional, fun, crazy family. So I love them to death. So they're super cool.
And then I saw, because having people come on the podcast, it's my job to obviously like do a little research, like make sure I'm like particularly like watching someone's story, like Instagram, Snapchat stories, like throughout like a couple weeks span, you know, like really pay attention, like who they're hanging out with. Oh, I know that fucking person, or like what are they posting about type shit. I saw you post on your story on Instagram. You were like, and I was definitely like, okay, this sounds like it's like a weed type thing, but you were, you like posted something that like a customer had said, like you guys were like out of a product or something, and then a customer was like, sent like a fat paragraph and was like hyping you guys up, and you were just like kind of like flexing your guys' customer service abilities from what the customer had stated. Yeah. What was that about?
It's, it just feels, so with that, because I know there's moments that people like to leave us Google reviews and stuff. I never really post situations like that on social media, but I know with it being, it's still a very young company. So with situations like that, it just kind of makes me feel warm. So knowing the fact that I'm able to promote the company in a way where like, hey, this is what I do, and this is, you know, I'll go out of my way to make sure you're happy. I like to post things like that because I want other people to know, like, well, if he can do it, I'm pretty sure the rest of the team can do it, and then just kind of grow traffic from there. Just because I know with some companies, they do really believe in Google reviews or reviews in general. So if they see like a line of all good reviews, and obviously like, well, I want to check them out, and that's exactly what I wanted to do. So yeah, I did. I did post that. And it's funny that you mentioned that because I always forget what I post on social media.
Yeah.
I'm the type of person that posts and then just forgets about it, and then come back, I'm like, oh shit, I posted that. Because I would get either comments, likes and shit like that. I'm like, oh crap, that's right. I posted that.
So you're like delivering weed then? You're like a driver? No,
I work behind the scenes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're like dealing with supplies and like the quantities of like what you have in stock versus what you...
I try, but right now I'm just a dispatcher, just because I know that's like the one thing I'm helping them with the most. So I just help them with dispatching, which it's really easy for me because I've known me being in the customer service like area for the long time. It's just kind of secondhand nature for me, so I can easily just jump on. I'm like, all right, let's go.
And then do you have like a side hustle type thing going? Is this your only job?
I guess you can call it side hustle. It's more of like a hobby, but if it pays me, it pays me. So when I'm not there, I usually do photography and filming. And then people do pay me to do photography or film, but the funny thing is, like, I don't have a camera. So So everything that I do when it comes to photography and filming, I do everything on my iPhone.
That's funny.
Just because I want to challenge myself, and I was like, I want to do something different. Plus, with smartphones nowadays, it's kind of like the to-go-to nowadays. But I've done a couple weddings, and it's so awkward. just because when I go, they're like, "Who's the cameraman?" And it's just me with my iPhone, like, "All right, smile."
Wait, there people like. I hope you know these people that hired you. Well.
I do.
Okay.
No, I do, and I tell every single person that books me, I tell them like right up front, like, "Hey, everything that I do is on my iPhone. Just a heads up."
And they're fine with it.
And they're like, "That's fine. Like, it's okay." I'm like, "No, you don't understand. It's on an iPhone." And they're like, "No, that's fine." I'm like, "All right, just letting you know." So I've done a couple weddings, I've done a couple films, and it's funny though because I have some of my friends who are hitting me up to film and do photography for their OnlyFans content. I'm getting people hit up to do side projects like for fashion, music videos, and things like that. I'm like, you guys do realize, once again, it's an iPhone. They're like, "No, it's fine." I'm like, "All right, just letting you know."
How are the photos coming out? Like good?
I mean, I think they're good. So that's just me. But when I take my photos, I do everything on the iPhone, and then when it comes to editing, I do everything on my iPad Pro. So I use both, to be able to incorporate the photos. But I try not to edit as much, so that way I don't really change the photo by a lot. I like to keep it raw.
How many weddings have you done?
4.
4 weddings.
Yeah.
Free payments.
They're all been paid. That's only because I never asked for payment. They just tip me.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
okay.
Like I said, I hate charging people.
Yeah.
It feels weird, and so I was like, well, I just accept tips, and people are like, well, how's this? And I'm like, that's more than enough. Thank you. So if I'm not doing photography filming, I'm doing fashion styling on the side. So people actually do hire me to go shopping with them.
No way.
Yeah.
What?
It can be fun, but it can be stressful. Just because you're not trying to incorporate your style to them, you're trying to figure out what their style is and then run with it. So I try to ask them like, hey, like, what are your colors? What are your sizes? What's your goal? What are you trying to get out of this? What's your budget? And, situations like that. And it's been pretty intense. Some of them are pretty fun. When it comes to situations like that, I usually charge about $125 an hour when I go shopping with these people. And so it's super rare. I used to do it a lot before, but now it's super rare just because there's not much in the area. But I think one of the biggest ones that I did, he spent $1,000 on clothes, paid me $1,500, and then bought me a suit out of it. And it was a really dope experience. And the best part is that his main goal was to be noticed. And I was like, okay, well, no pressure. So I was like, all right, well, let's go out there, get a couple pieces. And so we did. And so I put outfits together. And then I told him, I was like, okay, well, now it's your turn. You create outfits and then send me the photos and tell me what you think. And he's like, all right. Well, a couple of days later, I get a text saying, hey, I just want to reach out to you and let you know I've been getting so many compliments. People are starting to notice me. And I don't know what was it with me that day that I just started bawling. And I was like, I appreciate it. And that warmed my heart because I was like, okay, I not only did I help you, but I was able to accomplish something with you. So it just warmed my heart. And so ever since then, I was like, all right, you and me, besties.
That almost kind of proves the typical statement that like we hear all the time, where it's like if you're dressing with all these like bling, flashy colors, like you're trying to get noticed, and like it just makes sense what you just said. Like some guy literally hit me up to get me noticed, and I'm paid all this money to wear this flashy shit. Yeah, and he texted you saying, "Hey, all these people are complimenting me. I'm getting what I want." That's interesting. That's psychology, right? I
want to say, but I mean, I've never looked at it that way. I'm more of like, hey, I'm here to help, kind of thing. And that was it. But it's kind of, like I said, it can be stressful because every single person has their different style and whatnot. So, of course, you're trying to incorporate that with every single person that I meet. So there's moments that I can last 1 to 2 hours with a person, 2 to 4 hours, 6 to 8 hours. It just varies. Just because, like I said, in some cases it can be more stressful than others because they have like very specific things that they want to do. So I'm like, okay, well, let's incorporate that without incorporating my style. So this is all on you, or this is all you. So it can be a hit and miss sometimes. So there's that. And then right now I'm also trying to do coding.
Computer stuff?
Yeah. I'm trying to do coding because I want to be an app developer.
Okay.
So that's what I'm trying to do. So I guess I'm the type of person that likes to keep busy. So I'm just adding more to my plate, which is moments I forget. And I'm like, crap. Like I have so much shit. Why?
I was going to say, you said the shopping thing can be stressful. Mm-hmm. For me, I look at it and I'm like, there's no way in hell that's stressful. Like, you're making big bucks to just go have fun and, like, go pick some clothes out for some people. Like, how is that stressful?
That's what a lot of people always tell me is, like, it must be easy because you're just shopping. I'm like, well, when you look at it that way, right. But when you, like, really break it down to detail, you have to find colors, fabric, and style that fits that person individually. And then, of course, you have to also incorporate their budget, how much they're willing to spend, how far they're willing to travel to get the clothes. And obviously, like I did mention, go back to like what their goal is, you know, this type of style they're trying to go for, the type of, what's it called? I guess just that in general. So, of course, and most people are like, well, that should be easy. Just pick whatever. I'm like, well, no, because if the client was like, well, I don't want this, try to do this instead. Well, of course, you have to go by them and just go back and forth. So, yeah, when you're trying to shop for these people, you're not just only picking whatever you want. You're trying to incorporate what they want. Yeah. So that's where like the stressful part comes in.
Because you care about it so much, it's stressful.
Yeah. Okay. That's only because I'm trying to create outfits of their like. Because if I just incorporate what I like, then yeah, it'll be done in minutes. I'm like, well, I like this, so it's gonna fit on you. That's not the case. So,
are you taking them to like fucking malls out in the middle of nowhere? Or are you guys going like downtown SLO?
It varies on what they're trying to go for. Okay. So if they want to go by brand, that's one thing. Or if they're trying to just go to like say Target, then that's another. So it really depends on the client. There was one client that was like, well, I want brand this and that. I was like, oh shit. Okay. So we got Calvin Klein. We got Guess. We went to Santa Barbara and tried to look for like Gucci stores and shit like that. So this guy was like, I'm willing to like go all out. I'm like, oh, all right, cool. Like, I don't care where we go.
Why do you think they hit you up?
Just because before I posted so much on social media with the amount of style that I have. So people always kind of grasp the attention to that. So I always, like I said, I love putting outfits together and posting it on social media. And ever since then, I've always been a huge fan of it. So every time I talk about it, it just kind of grabs people attention. And then, of course, word by mouth. So if somebody like recommended me, it just kind of helps out in that way. Because I don't have like a legitimate business or a business card or anything like that. I just let them know.
How often does that happen? That sounds like a fun thing to do, like once a month or something.
Yeah, it used to happen once every other month, but now I haven't been doing it for the last 2 years just because I know with like everything that I'm going through, I just really haven't had the time to do it. Yeah. But if I'm able to pick it up again, then yeah, by all means, hands down, all in.
So some random person gets your number, like DMs you or something, and they're like, hey, like this person said this, and this. Yeah. I have thousands of dollars to spend. Because you said someone spent $1,000 on theirself, tipped you $1,500, and then also bought you a suit, which I'm assuming is not cheap.
No, well, the suit was from Express.
Is that I've never heard of it.
Well, Express used to be in downtown, so the suit alone was about $400 or $500.
Jeez.
Alone, yeah.
That's crazy.
I have till this day.
So are these like people like are these like sugar daddy type people, or are these like 20-year-olds?
It's a mixture between, but I mean most of my clientele is above 40 and higher. Okay. But there's some people that I've helped that are like in their 20s, and those are usually kind of fun because they're like, I'm on a budget. I'm like, cool. So thrift shopping is what I'm hearing. Ross is what I'm hearing. And they're like, fuck it, let's go. Which it never comes down to the brand itself. It just comes to the style of clothing you're going for. Because you can pull a kick-ass outfit from Goodwill. Yeah. And people are like, where did you get that? I'm like, Goodwill. They're like, the fuck? I'm like, yeah, exactly. So it's a mixture of people. And then I have friends who I help just because why not?
Dang, that's funny. Yeah, I'm one of those people, like, I like going shopping, but not alone. Like, it's not Like, I just don't like having to like go deal with society and shit. Like, I always hit up like a couple group chats and I'm like, hey, I have to go to the store this day. Like, does anyone want to come?
Right.
And I'll just try and get everything I need for like, so I don't have to go for like a bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
I totally get it. No, dude, if I go shopping by myself, I would spend all day.
Are you serious?
Yeah. I try not to, but I'm not that person that would like look at everything. And of course, if I go with friends, they're like, here we go. Hours in the store.
Damn.
And I try not to because I know I'm like, all right, let's get this quickly and go. But because I can easily scan through clothes pretty fast, I'm like, cool, I want this. But there's moments that I really do take the time. I'm like, okay, I want this. Well, now I need to match this with this and then just go back and forth. So it can be fun sometimes, or even I stress myself out trying to buy clothes for myself.
How many outfits do you have?
Too many.
Too many?
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot. That's why every time I go to downtown to the bars, they're like, what the fuck? This is new, isn't it? I'm like, no, I've had it forever. But I like to like mix and match so it looks new to you.
Yeah.
But I already know what it is.
Have people ever bought you drinks downtown?
Always.
Really? Mm-hmm. What do people say? They're like, yo, you look fresh, I'm gonna buy you some drink.
It's a hit and miss because it's a mixture between friends and people that I bump into the bars. So like I said, I don't drink.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
so shit's fucked up.
So it's funny though because I bring friends with me because I know I'm gonna get free drinks, so I just pass it down. And so usually people are like, yo, let me buy you a shot. I'm like, all right, cool. They're like, what do you want? I'm like, the strongest thing. And they're like, cool. And so then they get me the shot and I just pass it down. And of course, the person's already fucked up.
Yeah.
So they don't know that I took the shot. And then I have friends who buy me drinks and I'm like, hey, just a heads up, I don't drink. And they're like, oh, fuck, I forgot you don't drink. And the thing, yeah, either they'll pound it or I pass it out to somebody else. But it never offends me because I know people always start apologizing. They're like, I really am sorry. I'm like, no, I'm not that type of person that's going to be like, how fucking dare you?
Yeah.
I'm honored because I'm like, first of all, thank you. You bought me a drink. But I never get offended. I feel I'm more flattered when people do that to me. It's funny.
And then what city do you live in? A-Town?
Right now I live in A-Trash.
A-Trash?
And I can call it that because I've lived there long enough. But A-Town.
And then you're not living with family?
I'm actually living with my aunt right now.
Oh, so family.
Yeah.
Okay. Is your aunt chill with you?
She's aight. But the thing is, like, I'm never home because I'm always on the go. So I'm only there when I'm going to go to bed. But other than that, I'm never really there.
So you're going back there tonight to sleep?
Yeah.
Much.
And then back to it again the next day. So
I'm assuming you have, like, work tomorrow? Like
I do.
Like morning till afternoon?
It varies because I don't have a set schedule. So it's either up or down.
Okay.
But it really varies. But that's the thing with me is like I'm always doing something, whether it be during the day, midday, mornings, nights, because I'm always doing something. Like I said, I like to keep myself busy and I love it. If I'm at home for more than 5 minutes, I'm like, okay, I need to leave. I need to do something just because my brain is already wired for it.
Yeah.
So.
What is your typical day like waking up in A-Town? Like, let's say you have work at nighttime and you wake up and it's like 10 a.m. Like, what do you do for like a few hours before you have to get ready for work?
I try to sleep in. If we're being honest, I really do.
Because like 2 p.m.?
Right? No. Just because my brain is already wired to wake up in the morning. So even on my days off, I'm already up in the morning. But usually in the morning usually what I try to do, because I know I was lazy at first, but I'm starting to work out now. So I have Apple Fitness, so I can do my workouts at home. I sometimes do meditation just so I can like prepare for the day. In some rare cases, I do have coffee. And then from there, I kind of start my day. So if I do work, I do photography. Like I said, I do filming. I do private events. I then hit up other people to do other things, hang out with friends because they have stuff to do, and I usually get involved into it. When I possibly can, I travel because I love to travel. So whenever I can, I just travel as much as I can. If I'm not doing that, then I'm hitting the bars with friends. If I'm not doing that, then it's just like one thing after another. Like I said, every single day is just different.
Oh yeah.
And so
okay.
I like to go with the flow.
Have you ever been discriminated on because of your like clothes and what you're wearing?
Oh yeah.
What? Tell me some situations like that. Because you definitely have a unique style, for
Thank
sure.
you.
Yeah.
It's before it took me a while to like really put myself out there. So the first time I came out with like a full on crazy outfit, which was, I think I wore like a full on suit. I had my freaking flip flops, or I like to call them flip flops, but they're fucking 8-inch high heels. I had like jewelry and then all this crazy shit. And so people would stare. And at one point I bumped into somebody and they just looked at me. They're like, "Why? What the fuck is this?" And obviously, I think they were just tipsy. But of course, it's your typical situation where they just come up to you and they just drop the F-bomb. And I was like, "Great, here we go." Some people always like look at me from a distance, give me that dirty eye, or that side eye. But little by little, it's gotten a lot better. But I think most of the times it's more of a just like, really, wow, this fucking faggot's wearing this, or wow, you're such a fucking fairy, like you're wearing this and this and that. I'm like, dude, I don't give a fuck. Like, I'll wear whatever the fuck I want. But now it's getting a lot better, because it's always funny that every time I hit the bars with my heels, it's always the straight girls, or it's always the girls in general. They're like, "Oh my god, how do you do it?" I'm like, I just walk. Like, I just practice. Or there's some guys where they come up to me like, "Bro, I don't know how you do it, but mad props." I'm like, thanks. And then just go on with my night or day.
And that's the thing. You can't, like, if you're going to be wearing all of that stuff, like, you just have to be prepared for anything and everything.
Right?
I mean, like,
I think my biggest inspiration is Lady Gaga, because I've seen, her and like, I want to say, actually no, just her. Just because I know the stuff that she wears and the stuff that she wears in public on a normal day, I'm like, the fuck? Well, if she can do that, then I can do that. So I just incorporate that, and I'm like, oh cool, then I'm gonna be Gaga today, and then just go with it. And it's funny though, because it took me a while to realize, like, well, if people are gonna look at me and then whatnot, then I might as well give them a story.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, this is it. All I know is at the end of the day, you thought of me.
Yeah, for real.
So that's why I like to keep it.
Took up a little bit of their brain space.
Right? For real.
And that, yeah, it's, when it boils down to it, it's just a lot of people just haven't been exposed or even know people like you and your style exists. So they see you, they're like fucked up or whatever, and then they're then be like, "Oh bro, like what the fuck's wrong with you?" or some shit. And it's like, the thing, like, at the end of the day, if you're being you and you're happy with it, you're doing the right thing. You're living the correct life. Yeah. You know what I mean? And you know, if they have a problem with it, there's usually something wrong with them. That's what I've noticed. Dude.
Someone's insecure, so
and the funny thing is, there's people that get offended that they're offended, and it's like, no, don't be, it'd be like you getting mad at somebody, but it's like, no, don't get mad, don't be offended. They're the ones losing. Like they're like, if you're going out of your way to talk shit on somebody when all they're doing is like wearing something that looks dope or something that looks crazy, you've never seen it before, it just like looks a certain way, and you're going out of your way to talk shit and like be a dick, you're losing. You're losing at the end of the day. If you are genuinely happy in your life, you're not going to be saying those things, you're not going to be negative, you're going to be all about spreading positivity. So like, don't even, like, you can reply, do your thing, like, be nice, but if you're a dick and you're a fucking you get offended, you're buying into their game, and you're going low with them.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So
and that's how I was at first, because I know at first I would like reach out and be like, why do you hate me, like, why are you this and why are you that, and then I would then try to stoop up to the level and be like, well, fuck you, dude, this and that. But then I was like, well, there's no point, I'm wasting my energy, it's not worth it. And so when I get attacked that way, I just like thanks. And even for people that try to offend me, like I said, it just cracks me up, because I'm like, oh my god, that's funny, and then I write that shit down.
You write it down?
I really do.
Why?
Just, it's so funny, because then I can like make fun of myself using that, and it's just, because I look everything as comedy. So I never take life serious, because there's no point to it. It's just true. As long as you're having fun, that's all I care for. So when people come after me with all this bullshit, I'm like, I never thought of that. That's funny. But when people try to attack me, I just ignore it. And so that's kind of where my confidence level kind of grew, because like all these people are coming left and right, then I'm knowing for a fact that I'm doing something right. So the point that you're going out of your way to comment on what I'm doing or what I'm wearing or you know, whatnot. So at the end of the day, I'm the one that's winning. So that's the way I like to look at it.
That's funny. Would you say you're friends with more girls or more guys?
I want to say it's 50-50, but I feel like I have more girls than anything else.
And then do you feel like your best friends are more guys or more girls?
More girls.
More girls. Mm-hmm. And then what, it's something that happened somewhat recently that I think it's worth bringing up is like, have you noticed, and I talk this, I swear this happens like every few podcasts, but have you noticed how easily people get offended? Like, oh yeah, either like online, like for the most part, it is on like Instagram. Yep. Like people get extremely ticked off. Mm-hmm. Like I was in this one conversation, and this one girl, like, guaranteed extremely feminist, like fucking, like you can just tell, like she does not fuck with guys, type shit, you know what I mean? And like I for sure like did nothing wrong to her, but I said something totally not offensive at all because I was curious about something, and then she like her response and the way she like bit back and like barked at me, it was like, why do you hate, like it felt like why do you hate men so much, because the conversation had to do with like I guess if you wanted to call it like oppression. Yeah. You know what I mean? But have you noticed like on social media, people get so fucking like, you gotta like walk on eggshells. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And that's the thing. So I know this is a very touchy subject for like a lot of people, but it's frustrating only because I grew up knowing the fact that there was no boundaries. So whether it be a TV show, a movie, or social media, or whatever it is, there was like no boundaries back then, and people could just say whatever the fuck they want, which I can understand in some cases when you look at it back. Yeah, it can be offensive in some situations, but other than that, like, I don't understand how people can get offended with every little tiny thing. So no matter what you say or do, instantly people get offended. I'm like, dude, live a little. Like, I think it's all fun and games, because I have, first of all, I have a group of friends who we all talk mad shit, to the point where we can actually offend people outside of our group. And it's funny because people always look at our group when we hang out and they're like, is everyone fighting? Is everyone okay? Because we say the most fucked up shit. And it's like, it's just comedy. But I can understand how people always get so offended. It's like, I don't understand why. There's no reason to get so upwork on small questions or questions where people actually in reality do want to know the answer. But I don't know. To me personally, it boggles my mind how we live in a society where any little thing people get offended with, and it's just, for me, it's annoying. But that's just me.
One of my theories is like it's almost like they had like multiple tragical things that have happened to them on like particular subjects, and they're just like waiting for someone to like slip up and kind of like say not the most like correct thing to say. And in my eyes, it's like not even offensive, but to them it's like extremely offensive, and they're like waiting to like chomp down and like fucking go off on you. Like, how dare you, motherfucker. Exactly. I don't like people that do that type of shit.
It's fucking annoying. And then that's where like this whole cancel culture comes into play. And I fucking hate it, because I'm like, you're really gonna go out of your way to quote unquote cancel somebody. I'm like, you're literally wasting your fucking time. If it's something that's like super offensive and you know for a fact it's not okay, then yeah, I can understand. But I don't understand why you're going the extra mile to be like, cancel this person, or cancel this or cancel that. I'm like, it's just, I don't know, this whole cancel culture bullshit. It's really fucking annoying. But no, I can understand, because it's always just frustrating how people just wait for that one specific thing and then boom, off they go. So I'm like, dude, if you're gonna get offended, stay offline. That easy. Yeah. Like,
for real though.
Make it easy for all of us. Just keep your shit to yourself and we're good.
And online's always kind of been like a mosh pit, because you can like do things not in front of someone, but you're kind of like hiding behind a screen. Exactly. And I'm not saying like fucking go talk shit online and stuff, but that's how it always used to kind of be, like some crazy hectic shit. But now it's like fucking, It's like, it almost feels like people have given up and they're just like, okay, I'm gonna do anything to please this person and make them happy because I'm so afraid of like the devastating like effects that might happen. And then you have a ton of people just being fake at the end of the day and not being 100%. Able to like say what they want to say or be them. You know what I mean? Like, people get offended by talking about gay people. You know what I mean? Like, people get offended, like, oh my god, like you're not supposed to be talking about that. Like, why is that a thing? Like, why is sexuality so such a touchy subject? But in reality, you need to be talking about it all the fucking time, so everybody's aware and everybody's like super up to date on like sexuality and their own persona and like how to react and respond to other people. You know what I mean? But society is like, they made it extremely touchy to the point where nobody like is comfortable talking about it. But I think the other things should be happening. You know what I mean?
No, I totally get it. And so that's the thing, because it's not just for that, but like I am the type of person that likes to voice my opinion. But obviously I try to do it in a manner where obviously I'm not going to offend anybody, but I want to be blunt about everything that I say. And if people want to argue with me, then by all means, I'm open up for discussion. But if you're going to fucking attack me, then it's not worth my time. But at least in like the whole, I guess, sexual orientation or like the LGBT community or whatnot, there's some people that always get offended easily. But it's like the more we talk about it, the more you're teaching to others. You're showing others like, you know, what's this, what's that, or how it all works out. Instead of you saying like, oh, you can't say that, fuck you. I'm like, you're not helping the cause. Like, I really want to learn, hey, what is this? Why is it this? You know, how come it's that? When are you doing this? Where are you doing this? Why is it like basically like all the questions come into play. And of course, instead of you getting offended, me personally, I would answer them up front. I'm like, you want to learn about something? Cool. I'll answer to you at my best abilities. If I don't have the answer, then unfortunately, you know, I'll try to find a way to get that answer for you. But it just boggles my mind with like every little subject people get offended, whether it be the gay community, Black Lives Matter, cops, presidency, politics, you name it, every little thing. People always have to find a way to twist someone's words and then make it to the point where you just no longer have a conversation.
It's almost like the government made it like that on purpose. So there's just civil unrest. Right. You know what I mean? Like complete civil unrest. It's kind of crazy. You like can't really get deep with people.
Not at all.
I mean, you can't, like your homies, your friends, you can, but I mean, like, I'm like thinking of like some of my like coworkers, and I'm just like, oh bro, I could never talk about like any of this with them, you know what I mean?
And that's the thing, and that's the only reason why every time I have a conversation with anybody, I always let them know upfront, like, hey, I'm an open book, you can ask me whatever, we can talk about whatever, but keep in mind, I will be blunt. So if anything that I say you don't like, let me know right off the bat. And instead of you going off on me, I'd rather have, you know, a one-on-one conversation. But usually when it comes to like one-to-one in-person conversations, I feel like it can be more civilized, as obviously in an open public area like social media, it's a hit and miss, because obviously one person sees it and then boom, just kind of merges in, and it's just a mess at that point. But it's just crazy how like we're so wrapped up in a situation where we need to express ourselves in a very aggressive way.
Yeah. I feel like since you're pansexual, I feel like you definitely can say more of whatever the fuck you want to say. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, would people get offended by me saying that?
See,
or would people agree with me? Like, would the majority of the people agree with what I just said?
It varies. I want to say, I mean, I don't think people will get offended, because I know, I mean, in a way, I don't necessarily always have the ability to say whatever I want, but I do have my own opinion to say what I want, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Just because I know I can literally talk about anything that has nothing to do with me, and, you know, I can't really play the card. I'm like, well, he's this, so he can say whatever he wants. But I feel like everyone has the ability to say what they want. If I don't know, it's kind of hard. It really is complicated to really speak your own way without having to get bashed, if that makes sense.
And then are you currently in a relationship right now?
Yes.
How's that going for you? What's that like?
It's going good. It's it's very, very fresh.
Just started?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Like straight up out of the oven fresh. And so that I probably will not get into detail just because I know
so new.
It's not that it's very new. It is obviously it's very new, but like he's only ever dated girls, so I'm his first guy. So what? I obviously told myself and my group of friends that I was going to keep it in wraps until we both feel comfortable to the point where we can then publicly talk about it. Then again, I don't want to like immediately talk about it publicly because if something was to happen, it will then not look like a dumbass. But yeah, it's very, very fresh. I'm excited to see where things go, but hopefully down the road we can talk more about it and whatnot. But people have asked me left and right. They're like, hey, I'm like, unfortunately, I'm not going to answer any questions right now until we can both establish on where we are.
So it's only the very close friend group that knows you guys are dating?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what, like, have you been in, so besides that freshly new, and then do they know you're doing a podcast right now?
Who?
The new relationship.
I don't know. I don't think so. Actually,
okay.
Nobody knows that I'm doing this.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Okay, that's funny.
So straight up, I feel like once it's like publicly out there, like, you did fucking what? Hey. Hi, guys. No, nobody knows about this. And like I said, I love doing this because I really love to put myself out there in a way where if I'm able to say something that I can help somebody else, by all means, like, please.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm very open because I know for a fact that I really want everyone to like not only hear my story, but I want somebody to take from it and, you know, learn from it or be helped from it. Just because I know I posted, I do post a lot when it comes to knowing stuff about me, and it always warms my heart when people come to me and be like, hey, you're talking about this subject, or you're talking about this, you're talking about that, and I just want to say thank you and I appreciate you. And you know, I feel like most people have looked up to me, and I've been inspiring people. I'm like, as long as I'm able to, you know, share my story, and if it helps you, then by all means, like I love to share. So everyone's approval, you don't have to.
Or like, because Austin said there was because I've heard that story before from Alex, and I was like, dude, fucking
Alex even talk.
Well, that's the house owner about it, you know what I mean? But Austin said there was like just bystanders and like hella awkward people just watching.
I don't know how. Well, I'm the one that put it together.
Oh, you did?
So I'm the one that hosted the whole thing.
Okay.
And yeah.
How did it go down?
So I reached out to a group of friends and was like, hey, and I called them cuddle puddles. And so I was like, hey, I was wondering if you guys want to have a cuddle puddle. And I talked to them about it. I'm not going to drop names because I know. We were talking about it and whatnot, and we're like, yeah, let's do it. And we were excited. Well, I don't know how it happened that I guess randoms were hitting me up, and I thought that people in the house knew them. So I was like, yeah, you know, that's fine. And so eventually what happened is that we had the group that I personally invited, but then we had a group of randoms that showed up to it. And I was like, cool, is everyone going to get involved? And so we set up a couple rules. We're like, hey, you know, obviously no filming, nothing like that, just because I want to respect everyone's privacy. But there was like maybe a good handful of us just going at it in the living room, in the kitchen, in the back over here. So that's when I came into the house, I'm like, oh, fuck, memories. And so that happened. And it was awkward though, because they were all standing by the hallway here, and they were just staring at us. And I looked over, I'm like, okay, this isn't fun anymore because they're just all staring at us. I'm like, I feel like we're putting on a Broadway show for these fuckers. And I was like, this is awkward. But of course, everyone was kind of like on their, people were either high, drunk, or whatever. And at some point, we were like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's just fucking have at it. And then we forgot that they were there for a second. And then eventually, they slowly started to leave. And then we got more into it. But I have to admit, I had a lot of fun. That was only because I was like bouncing from one dick to another. And then I was bouncing to like one girl to another. And I was just going back and forth. So at that point, it felt like the hometown buffet. Just fucking eat whatever you want.
Were you guys fucking or like everything but fucking?
I guess all of the above.
Oh, you guys were fucking in front of
all of the above.
funny.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, dude, it was pretty hot, I have to admit. There were some of my straight guy friends that were there that were pushing the boundaries, and I was like more surprised. I'm like, oh, okay, like you little nasty. There was a couple that felt slightly uncomfortable, but then slowly started to loosen up a little bit. But yeah, I was more disappointed towards the fact that we had bystanders just looking at us. And I felt bad because I told the group, I was like, look, I was not expecting for this to happen. And I didn't mean for like all these randoms to show up. I really wanted to keep this, private. So I told them, I was like, if I was to ever host another one, I was going to be extremely selective on who was going to show up to this place or show up to the cuddle puddle. But the only reason why I call them cuddle puddles is because nobody knows that it's an orgy. Or it could just be a bunch of us just cuddling, butt-ass naked. And then that can turn into something else. But I don't want to straight up be like, hey, do you want to come to my orgy? People are like, what the fuck?
Yeah. People know it's gonna happen, but they don't want to be like invited. Like,
right, exactly.
They're like, oh, like I have higher standards.
Right.
It's like, fuck you.
Jim, bring your cup of tea.
Yeah.
Welcome to my kapa'o. But it was an interesting night, to say the least. It was pretty, like, so much was going on. I think my favorite part of the night was one of my straight guy friends who was in the military. So, he was like straight. I was like, how do you feel about getting whooped? And he's like, all right, let's do it. So I'm like, first of all, I'm like looking up, I'm like, baby Jesus, you really delivered. So me and my friend, who was a girl, we got him naked, and then we tied him up to a chair, and then eventually we blindfolded him with his own tie, and then I don't think we put a ball gag in his mouth, but he was just tied up with arms behind the chair and whatnot. Then we tied his legs to the chair, and then I slowly started whipping him and see what was comfort, and then I started going harder, and then eventually I got to the point where everyone was just looking. So then I got super hard and I just started whipping him, leaving him marks. And then at one point, which I'll never forget, and this was my favorite part, and I know there was no filming, but I wish I could fucking have this recorded, is he was completely naked. And so what I did is that I whipped him close to his private area, but everyone thought I whipped his private area. Yeah. So I whipped it hard, and he's like, ugh. And everyone was like, you did not. It was like, ooh. And I was like, I'm telling you, like, I love it hard. And of course, he couldn't do anything. So of course he wanted to cover himself, but he was just like grunting so hard. So that alone just turned me on. And I'm like, yes, and whipped him harder. And I had my girl like caressing his chest, and then I eventually asked her to make out with him so he can like calm for a little bit, and distracted himself, and I just kept going. And then eventually I just left him tied there for maybe half an hour. He's like, all right, you're just going to stay there. And it was an interesting night, to say the least. And it wasn't my first one. I've done a couple. So
it's great. Some people, pain feels really good. But for me, I feel like, oh man, like I don't want to be hit that hard.
I like it.
Really? It feels good?
So if we're going to get into all this craziness, like I said, when I first was introduced into like the whole BDSM world, I was like, oh, all right. Well, then it wasn't to the point where I personally got whipped, and my brain was just like, oh, what is this? And I was like, oh, so I kind of elaborated more with that. So I'm the type of person that loves pain. So I've gone to the point where I've actually got hit hard, where I start bleeding. I got bruises. People would choke me and almost pass out. So I've done crazy wild shit, and I don't know what is it with me that I love it so much. I also have to be careful with others because I love getting turned on, knowing the fact that I'm hurting somebody else, but not like actually to the point where like it's actually hurting, but just enough where they're like, it hurts kind of thing. But yeah, no, I don't know what is it with me because I'm very dominant, but then again, I can be submissive if I wanted to. But yeah, I do like pain. It's just crazy.
It's kind of like kinky and like
it really
with the whips
is.
And stuff. It's almost kind of like cute, and you're like not like fucking them up, but you're kind of like it's minorly uncomfortable to the point it's kind of like fun in a fun way. Okay.
In a way, yeah.
There's no way that you've lived here for this long and have been doing what you've been doing without like you must have some crazy ass stories, right? Like, what's the craziest, most dangerous thing that you've been involved in? Like, have people ever, like, DM'd you and, like, asking crazy shit? Or, like, have you had some run-ins with, like, crazy people? Like, it could be anything. Just, like, crazy shit, your life's at stake, or just something, like, insane you've done or have, like, been a part of.
I have... And quite honestly, this cannot go live because of the situation.
Don't even say it then.
So I won't, but I know everyone's going to be like, what is it? And I'll tell you off record. But that's probably the most craziest thing I've dealt with. But overall, in general, I don't think I really had too much craziness happen with me. Except... No, actually, it's just been very like mellow kind of situations because I've never really like put myself out there to the point where I'm like, oh my God, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But it's enough to be like, all right, cool, just another typical day. Let's see what happens to the next day. But yeah, nothing really too crazy. I mean, I've dealt with some crazy people in general that would try to come after me, just randomly bumping into people in the crowd or whatnot. But other than that, I think that's about it. So nothing too... Then again, it's SLO County, so there's not really much that goes that goes on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I've gotten run over once.
By a car?
Yeah. But this is when I was little. Yeah.
Okay.
So it wasn't too crazy. I was on my bike and somebody hit me in the car, or somebody hit me with a car. It was a hit and run.
They took off?
Oh, yeah.
No way.
Yeah. I was like 10.
They said, fuck this guy.
Well, they just like hit me and they were like, oh, shit. I was okay, but the car just left, and I didn't think much of it. So of course, my bike wasn't damaged, but I got on my bike, and I was like, "What just happened?" As I'm like pedaling away.
Were you in pain?
A little bit, just because I know I really wasn't paying attention with what happened. It just happened so quickly, and I was like, "What just happened?" When I went back on my bike, and I was like, "All right, off I go." I told my mom, and she's like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
She was mad at you?
Yeah.
That's funny.
She was like, what the hell? I just thought it was so funny.
Is there anything you want to end on? Tell people any messages, anything you want to say about yourself? What's a good way to end this for you?
Bye. I was kidding. I mean? Like I said, I'm just a very open book. So if people that see this and want us to reach out to me, by all means, like, all of my social media is open. I'm willing to talk to anybody about anything. But it's just one thing I will say, like, even though we're on Pride Month right now, it's just one thing I will let everyone know is that with everything going on, is as long as we show love, that's all that really is right now. That's all we really care for right now. Just because I know with so much hatred and just so much happening in this world, I think less hatred, more love will definitely do the trick with everything that's going on right now. But I want to say, I think that's about it, honestly. Just stop hatred, spread love.
that you saying all that just gave me another question. Did they make Pride Month to like say, hey, we need a month, motherfuckers, because like we feel so discriminated on? Is that the basis of Pride Month? It was.
I see. I'm really bad with my history, and I'm fucked up that I don't know much of it. But Pride Month was basically from the Stonewall riots, where this was back in, oh God, I don't know if it was the 60s or 70s, where basically there was a huge riot with so many, with just like the gay community basically wanting to show their pride and let everyone know, like, hey, this is who we are, this is what we are. And then I guess it was just called a Stonewall riot, just because I know it was just like the biggest riot when it came to the LGBT community and obviously like officers and whatnot. So this happened. I don't know when it happened, and I feel bad that I don't know when this happened. But because of that, I kind of just grew on, and in just June, the month of June just became its own dedicated Pride Month. Like I said, I could be wrong, but I feel like that was it. And then ever since then, it just kind of stuck to us on June.
There's some people that get pissed off that there's Pride Month, huh?
They do. And that's the thing that always, and I tell this to a lot of people because they're like, well, if you guys have Pride Month, then why don't we get a Pride Month? I was like, well, look at it this way. First of all, for someone, and I don't mean to offend anybody, but for someone who's heterosexual or straight, be thankful that you don't have one. Because out of all the 11 months, you can do whatever the fuck you want. For us, we are celebrating this one month because of the fact that we've gone so far, and we still continue till this day to have equal rights, to be able to let everyone know, like, this is who we are, and we're just trying to express ourselves, and then we just want to be accepted and welcomed. So the only reason why we have this is because we want to be able to show, you know, our true colors. We want to be able to express ourselves. So I tell most of my straight guy friends, or most of my straight friends, I'm like, hey, just, you know, be glad that you don't have a straight Pride Month, because you don't need one. So
yeah, and I can kind of see the arguments. So like for me personally, like I kind of like the, like, I don't think every day there should be a special national day, you know what I mean? Like National Pizza Day, National Pie Day.
Right.
Well, actually, National Pie Day is kind of dope because, like, the numbers, but, like, National everything day, you know what I mean?
I get it, yeah.
I like it there being, like, a big thing that happens, like, not every fucking month, but, like, 4th of July is fucking dope.
Right.
Like, probably one of my favorite holidays. Like, then you got, like, Thanksgiving, super big thing, everybody gets the day off. Then you have Christmas, everybody gets the day off, super fun, happy, like, la la la, like, family.
Right.
Easter's another one of those things. Like, for some people, I can see how Pride Month irritates them because they kind of live in a world where they haven't seen so much of the hate and discrimination towards, like, you guys. So they're like, oh, like we need another one of these things. For me, I definitely see both, though. I'm like I understand, like, you got, like, it's easier being heterosexual than it is anything else, for sure. So I can see the whole month thing, and, like, it is dope. Like, if you know what I mean? Like, I kind of like that, like, rally type shit. But yeah, I'm definitely more on that side. Like, do a fucking month of that, but also, again, like, I do see the slippery slope.
Yeah.
Like, okay, and now what? There's an elderly month where we appreciate and bow down to the elderly.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? Like, I kind of see both ways, but yeah, like, it's way fucking easier being a heterosexual male than anything else, you know what I mean? But, yeah. And I feel like that was a controversial statement, but, like, fuck it. Like, I'm not trying to offend you or anybody, you know what I mean?
I just want people to, like, really understand. Like, I really want them to know, like, this is the only reason why we're doing this. We're not trying to do this to shove this down your throat. We're not trying to convert anybody. We're not trying to say, you know, your kids are this, your parents are this, or this and that. No, we're just trying to show you the history and what we're trying to do. We're all a group of people that just want to be accepted, period. That's the only reason why. So for the next 30 days, each day is just giving us hope to really, you know, stand out and be our true selves. It could be different for a lot of people, because some people don't even want to show who they are, period, because they're afraid of what's going to happen. And that's the thing that we're trying to avoid altogether. I don't want someone to feel scared to come out. You know, if you are bi, gay, transgender, lesbian, you name it, who cares? Just be happy with who you are. And that's what I tell most of my followers on a daily basis. Like, just know that by the end of the day, as long as you know who you are, that should do it. Just be thankful and be happy that you're still here, that you're you. You know, you don't have to change for anybody else. You don't have to get everyone's approval. You don't have to, you know, do stuff like this, because you're just, you're at this point, you're declining yourself, you're not accepting yourself, and then you're just in a state where you're like, well, I'm not worthy. And that's not the case. So that's why I always try to reach out to those that are my straight friends. I'm like, look, you can come out, you know, on a normal day and be like, I'm straight. People are like, cool, whatever. For someone who's gay comes out, I'm like, I'm gay. Wow, you fucking faggot. And it just boom, downhill from there. So I just want people to realize like the two different sides of the stories. And this is the reason why we have Pride Month to begin with. And like I said, I have friends who are straight and are by my side, and they're the ones that I love the most, because for someone who's straight and accept me, thank you. And it means the world that I have you by my side while I'm still continuing this fight every day. So it's a hit and miss, that's for sure.
At the end of the day, we've all came out of the same destination, like a vagina or like a female stomach, however you want to put it.
Yeah.
Like we all came from an egg and a sperm. Yeah. We're all created equally. Yeah. That's the message at the end of the day. No matter who you are, we are all created equally.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
And
like,
that's the thing.
We're a human. We are the human species. Yeah. Like we're, you know, just accept. Just learn to accept.
And that's what I want to let everyone know, is that we're all one. That's it.
Let's end on that. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
Good shit. Super fun podcast.
Thank you.
Great. A lot of fun. We touched everything, like serious subjects, kind of funny subjects. Like for sure, he killed it on like sexuality, like that.